Now, one other thing that I need to bring to your attention and talk about is obviously something that's affected me quite a lot, and that is the new Cultural Revolution in China, Cultural Revolution 2.0, the greatest leap backwards is what we might call it. Now, some have said that in regards to what they've done with the whole private education industry in China, with private tutoring, which includes English tutoring, a lot of private English tutoring schools have been shut down overnight. They said, the original rhetoric by the Chinese government was this, that we are doing this because the population is going to be slashed in half by 2050, something like that. And their concerns are because there's disparities between the lost generation and the next generation where they had more children. There's going to be a gap in the population, and I can't remember all the figures and how it works out, but basically it's going to be slashed in half because of their one-child policy is now starting to really have an effect on them. And they said that, they want to encourage people to have more children. And the way they were going to encourage people to have more children was to, have them spend less money on their current children. And they said that, parents, there's too much pressure on parents and they are spending too much money on their current children, and therefore they can't afford to have more children. So they just banned all the things that parents could spend extra money on for their children, thus would encourage them to reproduce more. Now, that's a load of bullshit, because what it actually is just the eradication of Western influence upon China, which they made very clear in an announcement in their in the CCP controlled biggest newspaper that they have there. I forget what it's called. So much so that they just laid out exactly what's going down. Now, one of the things they laid out was that America had conducted biological warfare on China. That's right. America is responsible for COVID-19. Now, I could kind of believe that one because it did kind of happen at the right time. China were already experiencing economic. Well, they had the first year of no economic growth in 20 years. They suddenly experienced a year of 0% growth, which was terrifying for them. And usually when that happens, they like to blame outside influences for all their problems. So COVID-19 kind of happened at the right time. Maybe America did put it there. Who knows? But, it's a bit of a cheek to say it anyway by the Chinese government, considering everything they did. So that's something they said. But one of the most interesting things that they said in this diatribe of nonsense that they spouted out is how they want the Western influence to go away. Opulence has engulfed China. Okay, you've got all these billionaires with Lamborghinis. There are major gaps between the rich and the poor. In fact, the wealth gap in China eclipses any other wealth gap you've ever seen. And this is a problem. And this is also kind of funny because as they want to eradicate the Western influence that they think is corrupting their society, making people way too Western, and they want to bring it back to a more socialist society than it was once before. But I guess still make all the money. I don't know how that's going to work. Well, it will work because they'll redistribute everyone else's wealth, won't they? That's what they like to do. They're good at that. But this is quite funny in certain areas because how Hollywood and the NBA, which are two very good examples of, particularly American sectors that have literally bent over and taken it up the ass for China while sucking another Chinese person's penis or vagina, whichever way you want to look at it. How they have sold their souls to this authoritarian, lying, hideous regime has been despicable. But now it's all going to get taken away from them because they don't want their influence. The only reason there's been 26 million Fast and Furious movies is because the Chinese love them. They would have stopped making them years ago. Same with Transformer films. A lot of films only get made because of China. Well, now the Chinese are going to go back because they can make their own films anyway. And probably what they're going to want to do, if they want to curb this Western influence, they're going to start making, proper Chinese propaganda films. And I know Hollywood's been doing their best to make Chinese propaganda, and they've worked very hard. But they're going to want like old, war films, stuff with Chinese people, stuff from the good old days, this kind of shit. That's what they're going to want to do. They're not going to want Fast and Furious. They're not going to care about John Cena. And obviously the NBA is full of opulence. Most basketball players wear a lot of diamonds and, they're just brands. I mean, people say football players are overpaid, but the NBA players are really overpaid. And, LeBron James and all this sucking up to China is not going to pay off now because they can literally turn off the faucet whenever they want. There's no negotiations on this shit. When they want something to be done, they will do it. Like with them banning, they haven't banned, but limiting the amount of time that children can spend gaming online. Now they say they should no more than 3 hours a week. Now, in your country, in my country, most countries, they just recommend that. They say you should only do about 3 hours a week. And parents are slobs nowadays, so they go, yeah, whatever. Well, whereas in China, it won't happen. Whereas in China, no, they can control the internet like that. They'll just turn it off like a tap. Like, boop, oh, there goes your gaming time. Oh dear, your dreams of being the Chinese ninja have been flushed down the toilet. Like that. Boop. Trust me. I've been working in an industry, in the education sector, teaching Chinese kids how to speak English propers for over 3 years, and my whole livelihood got turned off. Boop! Like that. Literally, in a day. It just went, boop! Gone. Talk about industry worth like 130 billion was closed by the government. And that's the concerning thing about that, you've got to look how a lot of our governments look towards the Chinese and kind of have admiration for their social credit system. And in the beginning, and I read, people have written journals and papers on this about how well authoritarian regimes had done combating COVID-19. Well, that was then. We now know that's a load of bullshit because Vietnam were very authoritarian and it hasn't worked. China, it's not working. So in your face on that one, pricks. But they do have an admiration for that social credit system because our Western nations have always tried to create systems of control just to have an easygoing society that they can maintain that doesn't have so many problems. Not like nutter countries where, there's bombs and all this, people are angry and they're shooting and they're trying to kill the government because the government's shit. They don't want none of that. So they look at China and go, well, that's a good system, isn't it? I mean, Australia have lapped it right up. They love it. Australia have gone arse over tit on this one. They're just like, they got their facial recognition software now. Have you seen this shit? Facial recognition software in the phone, and it will ding you at any time, and then you have to take a photo of where you are and upload it to the app within 15 minutes. Otherwise, the police come round. That's super fucked. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, they start shooting dogs. Now, literally, they have gone. The Chinese are looking at Australia going, that's cool. Why didn't we think of that crazy, nutty idea? They do look to China and what they're doing and admire it. And that's why you should always keep an eye on that kind of shit because it is dodgy. Beyond dodgy. Okay, so anything that even just mildly whiffs of a social credit system should be called out and boycotted, and that does include those vaccine passports. I'm sorry, but it does. I don't care about how unsafe you feel and all this shit. You do not want to become like China, okay? I have first-hand experience of how duff it is, okay? Boop! The faucet is turned off. You may say, yeah, but that's China. No, I saw how people behaved at the beginning of the pandemic, looking at people getting dragged from cars and dragged from people's houses and going, yeah, good, because that keep us safe. The people were saying that. I remember. I do not forget these things. And that's why I knew when they called out the lockdowns and it all happened, I was like, oh dear, that's not good. That was the start of a very bad path. So that's something you need to know. So the Chinese can just turn it all off. They can go boom, and it's all over. It's done with. Okay? And everyone in Hollywood and the NBA, there's nothing they can say. They can't negotiate no deals. They're just going to look like absolute twats. Licking balls. I used to work with people like this who were just always licking the company's balls, going, "Oh, I love China. Yeah. Uyghurs, well, they..." Like, that's how they behave. Okay? And in the end, time will judge you. And sucking up to China, it's a short-term deal because they'll just turn it off. Boop. It's off. It's gone. It's over for you. So I would be trying to maneuver a bit more clever now, going, "Oh shit, we really licked China's balls, didn't we? Oh my god, we look like idiots." All right. You can see wages going down. Hollywood's going to be affected. This is big. This is super big. In pop culturally, sports culture, big, huge, crazy large. Okay, this is going to have a huge effect, and it's going to affect some people that don't deserve it, and I would consider myself in that category, because look, if you look at my history, I've always been very vocal about China. Okay, now I can be even more vocal about China. I am liberated. Okay, I've always put myself at risk. Okay, so I can stand here and be virtuous. Thank you very much. And then there's those that have been completely licking China's balls, going, "Hong Kong, what even is Hong Kong? What's a Uyghur?" As all this duff shit has been going on. Okay? They deserve this. And I'm glad it's happened. I'd rather it didn't right now, because I'm a bit short on cash. I got cash, but I'm a bit short. It's going to be a tough couple of months. Okay? But it's true. But for the greater good of humanity, I was glad it happened. And when I realized it wasn't just my industry and, where I was working. Industry is not a fucking industry. It was that job. My God, it paid well, but my God, it's not a proper job. It's not. Don't let anyone tell you it is. It's been fantastic. So, but I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it is a bigger thing, because now people are going to suffer and realize what fucking fools they are. And they're going to look stupid, and they're going to be hit where it hurts them the most, and that's in their pocket. And if I got to suffer for a while for the greater good of humanity, then so be it. It's good. It'll do them a lot of good. And Hollywood's going to have to rethink itself, the NBA, and whoever else has been sucking up to China like this, because they don't want you no more, because you've been poisoning their children's brains.